which is why Nick and I rented scaffolding and painted the whole interior of Pure Bliss, but would not budge on the due date because I was unwilling to pay one extra day from that scaffolding. So we slept there and took turns sleeping on flour while the other one was painting so we could make sure that we would not have to pay $25 again the next day.
Leo here, your host of the Building Bellingham podcast, and thanks for stopping by the studio. Pour a glass of whiskey or local beer, take a sip, kick those feet up. We're going to dive into what it means to be a business owner, what it means to be a member of this Bellingham and Whatcom County community, and what it means to find peace and balance while running a badass, high-octane, local, iconic business. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the studio. We're here in the Fountain District, our hub for all Building Bellingham episodes. And I'm just really excited because we didn't meet each other until today, but I feel like I've known you because I've been eating the cake that your company makes since it was open.
Nice.
And I'm a little bit of a fan, just a little bit. So I'm really excited to have you, Andi, here in the studio. You own with your husband a dessert shop, and you do a lot more than that. That's just, I'm going to put that label on it, but we're going to expand from there.
Okay, perfect.
It's your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit more about you. How did this passion happen?
Yeah, totally.
Besides liking frosting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, just on a daily basis. So it all started when I was a little kid, actually. My mom was not a baker, but she was an excellent cook. And is an excellent cook. She's still doing her thing. And it wasn't necessarily the food that I was really attracted to when my mom was doing her thing in the kitchen. It was more of this creative freedom that she demonstrated through her movements and her body language and her smile and the smells, like all the things really came to be. So I found myself really attracted to the kitchen environment really young. And I watched a lot of TV as a kid, and I'd be watching TV and I could hear like the chopping, like my mom was getting going on dinner.
The sensory.
Oh yeah. And I'd turn off the TV and I'd run in the kitchen and I'd hop on the counter and just watch her. Even though she wasn't baking, she was setting the stage for me to demonstrate that the kitchen is a place where you can be creative and make mistakes and just go for it. My mom never had a recipe in front of her. She was just going for it. So not only did I get this awesome exposure to like the kitchen environment and a safe place to be creative, I also had the world's greatest sweet tooth. Like we had a little store down the street from where I was growing up, and I spent every penny I could like scrounge around the house or make an allowance and spent it on Snickers bars and Zots and Big League gum and everything possible. Yeah.
A big bag of chew. Yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as I hit that marker of old enough to be responsible to run the oven or the stove myself, I started to bake, and it was great. Like middle school, like I'd just go for it. Like that was my sidekick hobby. So I'd get a recipe out and I was like, what do I feel like making today? Oh, I'm going to make brownies. And I'd make those brownies just as it was off the recipe, and I'd eat them and I'd be like, no, this could be better. I'm going to make this better. We're going to add some melted chocolate chips to make it a more like cocoa-y, deep, rich, fudgy flavor. Or this cake needs more cinnamon because it's really bland. Or it'd actually be better if I toasted the nuts rather than tossed in raw nuts. So it was just it was me doing what my mom had done, but in the baking realm. And so I was blowing through ingredients and blowing through the butter and the sugar and the flour and the vanilla and on and on and on in my parents' house up until I was in high school. And then I told my parents, I don't want to go get a 4-year degree. I want to go do this for a living. I love this. Like, I want to give joy to people through amazingly yummy treats. And then we went to a culinary school to interview, and it was all really great. It looked great. The kitchens were shining. The things that they were creating were so great. And then we sat down and talked to the director. And he's like, well, be prepared. You're going to work nights, weekends, holidays, on average 60 to 80 hours a week. And he started rambling off all the
requirements.
Of what a career in that industry really meant. And I was like, never mind. I'm afraid that this thing that I love so much is going to turn into work. And I don't want to do that. And also, I think one day I'd like to have a family. I mean, I'm 18 years old at this point, but I'm like, yeah, I think I want to have a family. And guess what? I love friends and I want to go and do things. So it did feel like a good fit. I applied, went to Western, needed to find my niche because I had thought all through high school I was going to do something in the culinary arts. And I was tanking. I was not having fun in
That
school.
makes two of us.
Okay.
I
great.
tanked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Big time.
nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Good at soccer.
Yeah.
Good at drinking beer. Good at making an effort in certain classes. But
I think soccer and beer really sum up a great college education.
It was.
So you can just be really proud of yourself.
I was really. I got an A in that class. I got a wow. That's the first time anyone has said good job.
Yeah, good job. Life skill.
Yeah.
It keeps going. It really does.
I love it.
But I found my niche was psychology.
Okay.
Because I actually really love people. And I really love learning more about people. Like, why are you doing the thing you're doing? And I want to know more about you, but I don't necessarily want you to tell me. I kind of want to figure it out just by the interactions.
A couple questions.
Yeah. I love asking questions. Yeah, it's so good. So I was really excited about the psych degree, got great grades, graduated. Then I was like, shoot, now what? Now we have to remember that when that passion is boiling inside of me, a loving to bake, it's not actually ever going away. So I'm still baking like crazy. Like the roommates are getting things and the neighbors are getting things, and every birthday, and cooking from scratch really became something that I cared a lot about once I left my parents' house and I had to learn how to feed myself. Same thing with that philosophy of the more local, the better, the more flavorful, the more high quality. It just
the better you feel too.
It just made sense
physically after.
Oh yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Or to be able to talk to the farmers at the farmers market that you're buying your delicious things from and be like, oh, I'm so excited that you love what you're doing, that I get to go home and do something that I love. Graduate from Western, get a psych degree. I have no idea what to do. End up dappling a little bit in some really horrible jobs that are not for me, but are just like entry level, whatever. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just want to die.
Did you work at the IRS or something?
I'm not going to.
Where did you work?
I did I sold cold called Xerox copy machines for a little while down the Bellevue area. And then I worked for a supplemental insurance company. So I got my insurance license to cold call and sell supplemental insurance.
That sounds riveting.
It taught me what a bad job really, really is.
Yeah.
And really what is not good for me. And I hated it.
Wait, you don't cold call to sell cake?
For a little while, you bet.
Yeah.
You do anything at the beginning of a business.
I know.
But now a little different, which is why I tell my team every day, guess what? Those customers that walk through the door or call or email, we get to celebrate each one of them because they come to us and we don't need to run to them and say, please come.
Yeah.
Doing what I did after college was really helpful for me to get that baseline of like appreciation for the customer, for sure. And we have a really strict rule at Pure Bliss, and that is if it's not awesome, we are not selling it. It has to fit that expectation of whether it's gluten-free or vegan or has every bit of those things and dairy. And I'm like all the evils. Like I want it to be on the same platform of delicious and to wow our customer because they're there to appreciate all the things, the dessert, the environment, the service, the people, the vibes, all of it. It's
vibes
a full
are
package.
at a high there.
Good.
Well,
it's working.
How do you pass that along? I mean, we're going to get kind of more back into the story of like how it all started. We've got the backstory a little bit, but I want to just take a little segue into you have a team, you have this passion, your husband has this passion. How do you pass that along to somebody else when really you're the one that cares the most about it?
The first response is you have to remember almost no one will care about it as much as you. Now we have a great leadership team and great team members who work for us. We have a team of currently of 41 and they are amazing.
Holy smokes.
I will say that I have to remember to stay healthy, that most people though aren't going to clean the thing like I would clean it, bake the thing like I would bake it, type the email like I would type the email. It's just going to be a little different. But at the same time, you get to help inspire and lead through bringing people along with you in that same story and in that passion. So I believe heavily, maybe as equally as important as our desserts are, is the culture in which Pure Bliss is. when my team walks through the door, I want them to be mentally prepared that today they get to be a part of something that is fulfilling our mission of spreading joy to Bellingham and beyond through delicious desserts. Like I want that to ooze from them. Now, do I feel like that every day? No. Do they feel like that every day? No. But I want them to have that as a foundation or a baseline when they're thinking about the work that they're doing. And we're talking like people are slinging cake, right? Like in different ways. I got my bakers who show up between 4 and 6, depending on the day. They have to do things. I have cake decorators who come in a couple hours after and they do things. I have hospitality team members who come in a couple hours after them and they do the things that they do. I've got an admin team, like everybody's doing the thing that they're doing, but I don't want them to forget that all of us together working are going to create this really awesome, yummy thing. And we get to give it to the person who's coming in and supporting us. And that's why we get to be there. So I get really excited about our mission and the joy spreading. And I get excited about the team and the working together to get to that mission. And then I just get excited about the fact that, that I get to live my dream out, which is to be able to do all of that at the same time, right?
It's powerful.
The desserts, the teams, the things that go together to be able to be a bright, shining light in a world that sometimes isn't so bright and shiny.
And I really appreciate you saying that. Not like sometimes it's easy to say when you're running a team that you try to inspire, like every day we're going to do it. We're going to show up and we're going to be super excited.
Yeah.
And I love that you just shared that it's not like that every day. No. How do you deal with the days where you are not, which I've only seen you today.
Yeah.
And so, and I imagine like most, like 99.9% of the time you're like this, but then there's obviously, life. How do you deal with those days?
Yeah, totally. In probably every way that you could imagine. I mean, the honest response, I believe heavily in transparency. I really like to just call it the way it is. And I think that's important when you're setting a culture too at work, because I want my team to be loyal and committed and transparent. I want to know where they're at, and they need to see their leads and their leader in that way too. So appropriately so. I'm not a cusser. I'm not a yeller, but I am a high emotive, expressive human. And so things will come out for sure. So the first thing that I learned a really long time ago is when I'm in the parking lot before I walk into the shop, I say, Andi, anything can come your way today. And it's likely that not everything is going to be great. So just know that it's going to come. And then it's going to be okay. And it's been really helpful to just have that mental shift. I'm not a Pollyanna, but I'm more of an optimist, right? So I'm just going to walk in like, good morning, like my baking team. They're like, oh my God, why can't we just walk in like everybody else who's quiet and just say hi? It's like my office upstairs. They're like, yep, we knew when you got in the room. And I was like, well, yeah, because we're here to do the thing. But not every day is going to be like that. And there are days where I'm so thankful for that like mental shift and that focus. So that when I do open the door and the information slams me in my face before I've even like paused to do the hand washing routine, it's better. So it's the mindset. We've had our brick and mortar shop for 13 years and there's new things that come up. But I think the longer you run a business or do the thing that you do, you begin to see patterns. This situation popped up again. Oh, okay, we've dealt with this before. And last time it didn't go well. So let's pivot and try this. Or actually that thing did go well. So we'll do it again, but polish it up a little bit, So it's me trying to be less reactive and just more calm. I do spend, I try to, some amount of quiet time in the morning. I like to journal. I pray. I like to read a devotion. I like to do something that kind of grounds me and reminds me that today is a part of our whole life. It is not our whole life.
Yeah. If it goes poorly today, then tomorrow can also there's another.
Well, Leo, 5 minutes. Yeah. In 5 minutes, it can go better.
Yeah.
And so the frame of reference and perspective and what you choose to focus on and how you choose to like problem solve and be resilient and also just give yourself permission, man. Like some days it's just going to be crap. Yeah. Frankly, some months are just going to be crap.
Yeah.
And letting it be that, and sometimes I'll walk into my office or I'll talk to the bakers because I'll see them first. And I'm pretty emotive pretty fast. I'm like, this morning was rough. Everybody was crying. But we got to school and I got to the gym and now we're here and it's going to be okay.
It's going to be, we've got through, we ate the frog.
Right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I guess bottom line to your question is preparing yourself that not every day is going to be rainbows and butterflies.
As an optimist, the way you look at the majority of the things that come into your scope, you think about the positive side of them.
Yeah.
And there is always a negative side. There's a light and a dark, right?
Yeah.
But the way you frame it for yourself in the morning is like, be yourself, be optimistic, but also there's always tomorrow too. Like
Totally.
give our best today. We can change it in 5 minutes, but tomorrow can also be a better day.
Right.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
But you started with this passion and then at some point you go, I want to do this for a living.
Yeah.
Tell me about that moment where you go, okay, I have to figure out what am I going to make specifically, or is it an array of things? What am I like? What market am I going to target? What am I going to charge? Like, tell me about this, like this moment when you go, oh.
When I was done doing all those terrible jobs, when I realized what a terrible job really is, I landed a great job in Bellevue at an organizational development firm. So big, fat, long words of me saying our specific job, our specific purpose was to work with teams so that they could get along better.
Oh.
Just understanding people skills and how to appropriately walk into conflict and the value of diversity and how to influence others through the things that you say and reading people through body language and posture.
Was this corporate or was this smaller businesses?
It was a small business itself. There were only like 15 of us who did that, but we were international. And it's pretty renowned. It's not personality based; it's all behavior based. And so, what? I mean, I won't get into like how it started, but our job was to go into any type of organization. So, worked a lot with academia, worked with gigantic corporations, worked with little mom and pop shops, usually family run. Those were really hard for people to get along. If you could imagine, we're same blood but really different ideas.
Dad, just give me another loan, Dad.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Like all the things. Yeah. So much conflict. And so it was just our way to be able to help understand that other people are usually different from us, not difficult. And just to be able to rotate your iceberg and understand observations of how other people are sitting and how expressive they are and how quick they talk and how much detail and just all of those things. So you could say, oh, that person's more of an analyzer. So I really need to focus on giving them facts and information for them to feel comfortable with me and knowing that we can go towards this common goal together.
Yeah.
Whereas I might be like, when are you going to get this done?
Yeah.
Well, don't tell somebody who's more analytical and process oriented. Don't tell them to do that, right? Like, don't ask them that question because they're like, well, I'll get it done when it's right.
Yeah.
But like, well, I want it done now. 85% is good enough. Well, you just killed that person.
Yeah.
Because anything less than 100% is not okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was fascinated by this and I loved it. And it dovetailed beautifully with my psych degree. It was basically giving me an advanced degree in how to run a team. Because we know that trust and respect and purpose towards a common goal and accountability and ability to walk into conflict and having measurable results, like all of these things are what makes a team work. And all of these things also help understand the value of the culture within an organization. And when you're living that out and living out values, then people want to willingly come alongside of you. So when you asked me earlier about passion, well, when you're living it out and you see that excitement, people want to be a part of that, right? So it's helping them understand the perspective and the story. And that's all that I wanted to do. That's all I want to do with this community. That's why I think what you're doing is so cool.
Appreciate that.
So now I will say my advanced degree lasted for 3 years and it was amazing. And I loved it. I also went home and cried every day because all I wanted to do was bake.
Yeah. Did you have time to bake? Yeah.
You bet. Yep. I lived in Kirkland. I worked in Bellevue. Sometimes I rode my bike as my commute because it was faster than driving.
Yeah.
I've always valued movement and exercise. But what was killing me was the things that this was like, we would send people, we would send trainers all over America, all over some Canada and some international. And I was like, okay, the sales cycle is long. It's not instant results. This is not creative. I am learning a ton, but I am not built to be an office worker. I am built to create faster. I miss the things. And so my day job was great, but I was still sad. And I'd go home and I'd bake, and then I'd bake for all my coworkers. And then people would be like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever had. I want to make this happen. So in conjunction with all this, I met my husband shopping at Fred Meyer, actually.
What aisle?
In the checkout. I can be kind of heads down and task oriented. And so when I got to Fred Meyer at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday night, I was there to buy baking supplies for a coworker so I could get home and bake her amazing molten lava cakes and then go to bed because, long day, had to do the things. He saw me in the produce section, but I didn't see him because I was focused on what I needed to do. But I do have that first locked eye contact of my husband locked and loaded in my memory bank.
So did he put the little divider between your groceries, or did he leave that open? Was there a sign there?
Well, I was wearing my Western sweatshirt. He had gone to Western too. So when he turned around and saw that I was wearing Western, which is rare because it's East Side, right? So it's most UW down there. So he was like, did you go to Western? And of course I noticed this cute boy in front of me. So I'm just like, totally playing aloof. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. It's just whatever. How's your day? And I was like, yeah, I thought he was a stalker all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then I realized I, had it literally printed on my shirt. And I was like, oh, he's like, well, I went too. And we talked about graduating the same year and how the Bellevue vibes are nice, but really not our style because we really miss Bellingham.
Bellingham's funky and it's
a little bit more grit, way more recreation, activities, the pace, the vibe, all of it. It fit.
You don't need to convince me as to why Bellingham's better than Bellevue or Kirkland.
Oh, for sure. We love Bellingham.
We're on the same page.
Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. But when you're in Bellevue, it's rare to find somebody who's not living and breathing that fast-paced life. And this is back in 2005. So this was a while ago. Regardless, we exchanged numbers and have been together ever since.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Was he also a baker, by the way?
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. No. Nick is amazing at maintenance and taste testing. And that's what he says. I put all that on my resume. So you're talking about licking your fingers while you're baking, which is a big no-no in the commercial world.
Yeah.
My husband would get fired in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
He is not allowed to help bake. Early in the Pure Bliss days, when I didn't have a gigantic team who was beautifully systematic and so good at what they're doing now, I would call Nick in and I was like, if I see your hands get within 1 foot of your face, you are out of here. Just stay down here, buddy.
Don't even scratch your nose.
Right. No,
yeah, I'm keeping my eyes on you.
So anyway, no, he at that time was studying to be a architectural design.
Right on.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So remember how I said I was crying all the time after work because I actually really wanted to bake and I was baking for people and they were like, okay, we love this. And also please stop baking for us all the time.
Yeah.
I was like, Nick and I were dating at that point and then we were close to getting married. And I was like, here's the thing. I'm going to quit this amazing grown-up career that I have. And I'm going to go work at a bakery and make a minimum wage and just live out my dream of making cupcakes every day. Okay. And he was like, yeah, sounds good.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the same time, we were coming up to Bellingham every other weekend because the majority of our community was here.
You had friends from Western who were still here. And,
yeah. Absolutely. We were mountain biking every weekend. We were doing Patton. We were doing Baker. We were just doing all the things. And we're like, what are we doing? This is so stupid.
We should keep filling up our tank with gas to drive to Bellingham from Kirkland.
Right.
Yeah, this is a good idea.
It's a great idea. Yeah. So we didn't want to be weekend warriors. And we knew pretty quickly that a family value of Nick and I is adventure. And so we're not I'm not going to go hella skiing, that's not my thing, but just how do we weave in appreciating the beauty that we have around us on a daily or at least multiple times a week basis. So Galbraith and the Bay and the hiking trails and the Chuckanuts, all of that to be 5 to 15 minutes away, you have to live here.
We're pretty lucky.
It is amazing. And also we cannot tell everybody that. So we have to stop talking about it because we don't want everybody to live here.
I'm sure when people ask you too, because you're not an expressive person at all.
Right. No.
You're it's pretty bad.
No, it's just
it's struggling
it's lame.
up here.
You should see the freeway northbound between 4:30 and 5:30.
2 lanes? Are you kidding
terrible.
me?
Oh, the Fred Meyer. Oh, Trader Joe's can't get a parking lot. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah, it's just not worth it.
No, don't do it. Stay back. We had come up just a few months after we had gotten married and a friend of mine was like, so when are you going to move to Bellingham? And I was like, by the summer. Nick and I hadn't talked about that. It was just kind of declared in that moment. And so I went back and I was like, oh, Nick, hey, we need to move.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah. So it was that simple. So I had resigned from my role at the Effectiveness Institute. And I'm like, great, I'm going to go work at a bakery. And at the time there were like 2.
What were the bakeries that were?
Oh gosh. Okay.
Like
so
Grateful
definitely
Harvest?
No. I needed to be real local. That was really, really important to me. So
that was an ignorant statement. I retract that.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, Cooper.
Please
redact that.
I'm really offended.
Yeah.
So Mount Bakery was there. And then I can't remember. It was Levy and Rose.
Was this 15 years or more ago?
Yeah.
Okay. I was not present.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Yeah, it was about 17 years. It's 17 years ago in 24. Because obviously it's just turnkey, right? I'm going to quit my big time job and I'm going to go bake. Easy.
Yeah.
So I just walked in there with this resume with absolutely no professional experience. And I'm like, I am super good and passionate about this. You need to hire me. And they're like, what skills do you have? I was like, I bake so much from home and everybody loves the things that I make. And they're like, yeah, okay. We'll call you when we need somebody, right? No, that didn't happen. So I happen to be friends with Steve Moore, who is Steve Moore Designs and Sinclair and Moore Designs now. And he's based in Texas and he's created his own brand of like home goods, beautiful things, and is really well known in the wedding world. Like it's stunning. You're like, it's not really fair that one human is so talented. You really should be 5 or 6 people. But Steve was local in Bellingham at that point, and he's well networked. I knew him a little bit in college. And so I was like, Steve, I want to be a baker and I don't know how to do that well. And I just feel like I have skills to contribute. And I want to help you with anything that you do. Because at the time, while he was wedding designing and coordinating, he was also doing everything. So floral, cakes, everything. And we're talking like Martha Stewart worthy. And so for one wedding, he'd do like 6 3-tiered cakes. So he's like, dang, Andy, I could use you. And so we're working alongside each other and I'm learning a whole bunch about the wedding industry while he gets to be twice as fast because I'm helping him bake and decorate and whatnot. And so that was really cool. And after a couple of those pair ups, he had asked me to be his wedding coordinator. So I took this like really creative, artistic human and like organize things and put it into structures and routines and systems. Because as it turns out, I really like to make things efficient. And I think it's kind of like this relationship that you two have.
And effective, right?
Yeah. Right. So both have strengths and one person can implement the other person's dreams.
It's like 80-20. Tiffany and Coop hold 80% of the skills and then I just sit here and talk.
Well, you know,
or ask questions.
That's cool because everybody needs a job, right? This would be a really not fun conversation if you weren't sitting in that chair.
This is a really high paying job. You'd be surprised.
I brought you treats. I pay in treats.
Yes, that's what we take. That's our currency. Okay, yeah. And compliments, right?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. Totally. I like your hat.
Oh, thank you. Tiffany made it. Actually, well.
Okay. So me and Steve were able to work together and that was really awesome. So I learned a ton about the wedding industry, which as it turns out is a really big deal when you're a baker. Yeah. As well as just little techniques about like how to make the perfect ganache pour over. Cause he had all these, again, really talented and amazing skills and abilities. And I got to walk alongside him in that way. And learn some things. And so I continue to pester Levy and Rose and Mount Bakery and dabble around with potentially other work. Forgot to say my husband was able to land another job. So he was the breadwinner for our family. And I was just kind of freaking out every day, wondering what the heck did I just do? Yeah, exactly. But also really enjoying and appreciating that season in life to just learn more. And I said, you know what? Forget it. If I don't get to go and do this for someone, I'm doing it for me. And then in January of 2008, Pure Bliss was born.
Wow.
Because I couldn't find a local baking gig, I needed to create my own local baking gig.
I think that those bakeries, while they were fantastic and are, they probably missed out on having you work there.
Oh,
Just a little bit.
I had a friend, Vince and I, we're not like best friends, but we'll do the occasional wave when we're at cash and carry or whatever. And I had a friend who actually ended up working for us and needing to leave Mount Bakery because we were able to offer her more hours. But yeah, after the first couple of years, she's like, I think he's probably kicking himself right now. But he also didn't own at that time. There was someone else who was owning and running it. So all that to say, there's plenty of room for all of us to be in Bellingham. There's a lot of mouths to enjoy the desserts.
And different takes on it too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, right. Exactly. We're not going to come anywhere close to a croissant at Pure Bliss. We're not those people.
The wedding industry is so interesting to me because, videographers and photographers that I've talked to have said, I love this type of my world, which is not weddings, but weddings pay the bills.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
What was your experience in dealing with people that are like maybe potentially some, maybe not, but like the stigma of weddings is that it's like high stress, a lot of money. What was that experience like in working with Steve?
Yeah, that's such a good question. We really saw the gamut, truly. Like, let's say everybody has the same income or everybody has the same wedding budget, which was very high. We saw people who were really controlling and needing everything to be their way yesterday. Or non-communicative and just read my mind. And then we had the most humble, kind, gracious, generous, easygoing, communicative people ever. And it really just showed that, one, I actually think, not for everybody, but for a lot of people, stress can change your personality for a little while. And because it is such a blown up industry and can be, I always call it, weddings are like that snowball effect, right? You can be like, you know what? I just wanted something simple, something real low key, something chill, food truck and some flowers. And then at the end of your 6-month planning, you've like rented the most expensive, beautiful venue and your $25,000 flower budget just blew out your entire budget.
Like 25,000?
Oh, sure.
Huh.
Like it just happens.
That's a lot.
Yeah, just a little bit.
This is one day we're talking about, right?
Flowers last forever though. Yeah. So it's a good investment.
Good. Yeah. It's a good quick one. Yeah, good quick 25 grand out the door. Nice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. But the point is the wedding industry can be really tricky because it's so dynamic and it's really built up. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar a year industry for good reason, right? Yeah. It was a good lesson for me to be able to say, well, I had the people skills side of things happening in my favor, just to be able to understand what people were and knowing what stress can do and knowing that sometimes we're not in our right mind, or just knowing that it's a big deal and a big celebration, or families will be coming together, or we've got to impress the so-and-so or whatever. But also it's just an opportunity to be able to be like, to like bring light to somebody's planning process and just to be able to help them along the way. Yeah. It helped me know that there are personalities that are not always going to be easy to work with or a good fit, and that it's okay to say, I don't think we're going to be a good fit for each other. And hopefully you learn that before you execute the thing that you have promised. So that was important too. And just, I think when you're starting up and you're new and you're engaging with so many different people, it's really important to be able to know that you can have really thin skin and that it'll take a while to thicken that up and to get that a little bit too. Yeah. Because as it turns out, even though it's cake, it can still be a really serious, really big deal. Sometimes I have to talk myself down and be like, Andi, this is not brain surgery. We're talking about cake today.
Hey everyone, it's Leo. The Building Bellingham podcast is one of our team's community projects, and I want to introduce you to the other. Live Bellingham Now is a community platform showcasing up-and-coming businesses, local nonprofits, and events happening in town. You can get all of the updates on Facebook and Instagram. All right, back to the show.
And I don't mean to dumb down our product or what we're doing, because it's still important to me. But sometimes I can move it up to that high caliber of like, this is a big deal.
Yeah. In those moments where you're having that conversation with yourself, how do you remind yourself that it's your passion? Like the business mind is firing and you're like, it has to be done this way. This was the order. This is what I promised. This is what's going to be delivered. But then there's the side of you that is what's fueling your whole world, which is your passion for it.
Yeah.
What's that internal conversation sound like?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is the brain surgery conversation for sure. A lot of it goes back to what we had talked about at the beginning, to just be able to be like, listen, not everything's going to go your way and it's going to be okay. Not everybody is going to get it, even me sometimes. So I don't know. I just believe in a lot of grace. I think you just got to be able to be like, didn't hit it. And sometimes, like when we blow it, like you forget the sugar or you misscale the flour or there's way too much butter and you got a pool, you're like, nope.
When's way too much butter bad? It can be bad.
It can be.
Yeah.
When you put something in the oven and when it comes out and it's supposed to be slightly puffy, golden brown, and just that perfect texture, and you take it out and it's like a sea of swirling butter, you're like, yeah, we misscaled the butter. Yeah. That's too much.
That's a lot. Okay. Yeah. You said it was born
2008.
2008. Mm-hmm. That was an interesting time in the economy. In your brain, were you thinking, oh, we're in the Great Recession?
Yeah, totally.
And you're thinking, I'm going to open up a business, when there was a lot of businesses that were struggling.
Totally.
What was your mindset like during that time when you opened it up?
I love that question. It was a soft beginning for me because I didn't have a brick and mortar yet. So when I say I started Pure Bliss, or it was born in 2008, that was me with a website and a menu from all those middle school and beyond recipes that I had been developing, and a very enthusiastic 20-something saying, please somebody buy this cake.
Yeah.
I was still working with Steve.
Cold calls, right?
Oh yeah. You bet. Mass emails at that point.
Nice.
We'd upgraded the
that would be the most
format.
Pleasant email. Buy this cake versus like, buy this product or service. I'm like, no, I just want cake.
Totally. Or like, hey, do you have somebody that you want to honor in your office? Yeah. I am the person who'd be able to make that happen for you. So way back then too, there wasn't anything as a cottage industry. And so I needed to go through the hoops to find a commercial kitchen where I could go and bake. And thankfully, the Laremont Manor shared their space with me. So I would call their person of operations and be like, all right, this week I have 5 cakes that I need to bake for. And so I need to be there on Thursday at some point in the afternoon and on Friday at some point in the afternoon. When is your kitchen open and available? Because obviously the Laremont Manor is a great venue and they are running amazing things in their caterers and kitchens. And so that gal would tell me what time slots I could come. And then I would bring all of my raw ingredients there, bake all the thing, decorate all the thing, box all the thing, clean up all the stuff, clean up the kitchen so it looked like I wasn't there, because I was going to appreciate and honor Leave It Better Than You Found It, and then load up my vehicle with all of my ingredients and that final product, and then go and take it to the customer. So I didn't experience the, oh my gosh, I'm opening a brick and mortar in the middle of a recession in the 2008 to 2010-ish timeframe, because for that first 2.5 years, it was just me. So I didn't have an overhead. Or rent. I didn't have any type of employee base. I didn't have much. I was working with Steve until it made sense that my business was growing enough. I needed to actually say goodbye to that and really hone in and do that. And also he had built up his team well there too. So I felt like he had what he needed to be successful, keep going in the what?
Or just had the support he needed.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. He was able to be successful in that way. So at that point too, I was really tired. I was making like $2 an hour after all of that, like, get the supplies, get the stuff, go there, make it, it made no economic sense, but that's where the passion kept on driving me. And I was like, I need to find something that's a little bit more sustainable than sharing this commercial kitchen with this venue. And so a friend of mine had a little cafe on Cornwall Avenue called the Anchor Cafe. And he had this little tiny spot in the back, maybe 200 square feet. And I walked back there one day because I went to grab a coffee, and it was just chock full of boxes and miscellaneous stuff. Yeah. And I was like, Bill, can I sublease this space and convert it into a commercial kitchen? And I can let all of my ingredients stay here. And I can use it on my own time and my own terms. Can I have a key to your space? And he said, sure. Yeah. So we went through the health department thing, bought all this stuff on Craigslist. We drove all over Washington State because, budget just stretched thin. So we bought the oven and the transits and the work tables and all the things. And then I had this thing happen. I had my own space. Like my dream of having a dessert shop in some capacity at some place just got one step closer. We had way back when looked for places around town, but it felt like too much of a leap. I wasn't ready for that. I was still working with Steve. I was like trying to figure out, how do you run a business and do the thing that you love so much well all at the same time? I don't know. It just felt like it wasn't quite time. We were in that space in February of 2010. And by middle of June, I had gotten word that Bill's company was going to close. His business was closing. It just wasn't quite making it. And the landlords had called and they said, do you want to take over? And I said, you mean you want me to have the whole space up front and not just have this subleased kitchen in the back? And he was
And
like,
at that
yeah.
time, it was just half the space, right? Because you guys did a whole remodel.
Exactly. Yeah. And I said, heck yeah, I want to do that. That's amazing. So I had a summer booked full of weddings, and the tenant or the landlords gave us 3 months of no rent to be able to turn this gold and red, grungy looking, because that was his vibe.
Yeah.
That's what he was going for. Grungy looking cafe into Pure Bliss. Now, all I had was a logo, but I was like, what does my space need to feel like? What is that? What do I want it to be like? And that's where my husband came in.
I heard about the couch, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Did you?
I think that should go on his resume, shouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My husband is amazing. He can find anything on Craigslist and make it awesome and beautiful and amazing. But yeah, I brought Steve in and I was like, will you look at this space and kind of generally point me in the direction of where we should go? And he's like, yeah, I think you should have some black chandeliers and maybe paint the ceiling black to make it kind of moody and like clean, crisp other aspects. And you need some vintage antique stuff. And then Nick and him were just geeking out. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go bake like 150 wedding cakes. So cool. I'll see you in 3 months. Not really. Steve stepped out at that point, but my husband took the pretty heavy driving seat in terms of making Pure Bliss the beautiful place that it is, along with my dad. So my dad has been an entrepreneur his whole life. That's all I know. I remember waking up to him in the office. My bedroom was right next to him in the office, and he was talking and calling customers and setting up his home repair and remodel contractor. Just him. One person show. And I remember going to bed, listening to him doing his calculator and, just
doing the books,
just doing all the things,
invoices and
all the, old school,
and
just pencil to pad, just getting it done, and so hardworking. And that was actually my summer gig in middle school and high school too. Just learning how to throw a hammer so I could be also useful in my household growing up and being
it's a great tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. So slinging cake, whisk in an apron, hammer in an apron, like let's get this done. As it turns out, very helpful in the business running world, because if it's not every day I walk in, they're like, the door hinge just fell off, and like, let's go get an Allen wrench. We can take care of that. My dad came up. He dedicated most of his summer weekends with Nick and me and my mom, and we Craigslisted no budget and created Pure Bliss version 1. And that was really
version
cool.
1.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely overshadowed by version 2.
Yeah.
Because I've been there the majority of the time. And in college, when I would go there, I didn't have any money.
Thank you for coming as a college male to Pure Bliss dessert.
I wasn't alone, Andi.
I am so glad. Oh my gosh. My husband and I talk about this all the time.
I'm just kidding. I was totally alone. It was like if
you want to meet a cute girl and you are single, go to the shop. You're going to find somebody awesome. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
anyway.
it would be after 2 trainings in a day, and I would say, all right, I haven't even hit close to how many calories I need to survive.
Right.
And so I'm just going to just go after a cake.
We're going to help you out with that.
And the shortbread.
Yeah.
I'm going to slowly put little Easter eggs throughout the episode of all the great things that are there.
Yeah.
My wife loves the lemon bar. She'll just go for the lemon bar.
Creamy lemon wedge. I know. We got those loyalists who are like, I'm not going to budge.
She won't budge.
I'm going to get the thing.
She won't even, she'll take a bite and she'll be like, that's fantastic. I want my lemon bar.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn. All right.
Yeah.
I'll eat almost anything here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
the
great.
Loyalists. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You talked about finding all this stuff on Craigslist.
Yeah.
Filling out that space in the back, the commissary kitchen, before it became, you got the opportunity to lease the whole space.
Yeah.
Did you have this money saved up? Was your husband saying like, hey, this job's steady enough where I can fund some of this? Was it like hey, I'm going to sell like my car to do how did you find the money to do this?
Totally. Yeah. So, remembering that Pure Bliss had been in existence for 2.5 years, and I was doing wedding cakes and cake of the months and birthday cakes and anniversary cakes and neighborhood whatever. So I was able to make just little bits over the course of time. So when it came to be that we had this opportunity to go, I had a little teeny tiny nest egg waiting. And it was a conversation of, okay, Nick, this is what I would like to use if that's possible, which is why Nick and I rented scaffolding and painted the whole interior of Pure Bliss, but would not budge on the due date because I was unwilling to pay one extra day from that scaffolding. So we slept there and took turns sleeping on flour while the other one was painting so we could make sure that we would not have to pay $25 again the next day. Like, you want to talk about, I'm a pretty frugal human, but back then it was like to everything. So yeah, that's how it worked. We had a nest egg and we used it all. And I got amazing free labor because my father is amazing, was able to do so much. And we had to pay the big bucks for like electrical and the permitting and things like that. And I was like, oh, you're taking half of my budget.
Yeah.
But as
Come
it
back
turns
with
out,
it.
that's really important.
One thing that makes me reignites the entrepreneurial spirit. You telling that story, if it doesn't inspire people that listen to this show, it like you're inspiring the people in this room right now.
Good.
And
doing my job.
People don't realize how hard it is to run a bad business. And then you add the layer of it being a great business. And there's this layer of cake, for sake of metaphor here. Like, it's hard to run a business in general.
Right.
And then there's this extra layer. And I just wanted to say that, like, those stories for me make me really emotional and make me, because we all painted our office like on, was it the day before Christmas?
The week after Christmas.
Week after Christmas, somewhere around Christmas. Anyways, those are those moments that you're like, I have complete control over my life. This is a really hard moment, but I'm in control of my destiny right now. And so thank you for sharing that, because that's what every entrepreneur should be doing.
Yeah, totally. To think that it comes easy, and to think, like, sometimes I'll walk into the shop through the front door and be like, oh my gosh, like, how did we get here? This is insane. And I get teary, I get emotional, and I'm like, this isn't ever what I imagined. I just wanted to sell cake to people. I never was like, you know what? One day I'm going to have a 5,000 square foot bakery, and I'm going to have 41 amazing team members who work for us, and I'm going to show up when I feel like it. Like, it was never like that, you know? And so it's easy for me to keep on the forefront of my memory, because those first, specifically 2.5 years, was the hardest thing I have ever done. And I've had natural childbirth twice. The grit, I laughed after, maybe I laughed and cried. I hysterically laughed after like the first month, because I reflected on that conversation that I had with the culinary school nights, weekends, holidays, 68-hour
work wrong, were they?
I was like, I wish 100-hour work weeks.
Yeah.
I would show up at 5 a.m., bake everything, turn off the ovens, frost everything, take everything out front, display it all, interact with customers for 11 hours a day, go back, set everything up so it could be somewhat ready for the next morning at 5 a.m. again. When am I going to pay my credit card bills, or reconcile my bank account, or make sure that I'm getting supplies, or even find time to make sure that I'm getting the most competitive price for any of my items, or go to Costco for more carrots because I can't make enough carrot cake, like, every other breathing moment that I possibly could. I was not great at delegating, huge control freak. My parents actually the summer that we were creating Pure Bliss, they just got rid of the name Andi and called me Barking Dog. I was like so demanding and controlling, and like that all those people skills, where'd they go?
Yeah.
Like, those are gone. Like, pleases and thank yous are part of what we do here. No, we're getting this done, guys. Get on it.
We're past that, guys.
Oh yeah. Forget
We're
it.
way off the deep end here.
They remind me of that occasionally now. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. And also, we needed to do it. So you dealt with it. We have enough love.
We got through it.
Totally. But the whole point is those hard moments and those long stretches and those nobody's come in here for an hour and a half, because it was 2010 and there was still a down. We're still floating down there. It wasn't vibrant and beautiful and amazing, and everybody's like, what am I going to do with this extra income? I should go buy some cake. No, they weren't there yet. And I just go into the back alley and cry and be like, what did I do? What is it? Like, it was supposed to be a low risk for fun thing, but I have a lease and I have employees and I have a reputation, and nobody's coming to get my stuff, and what do I do?
Yeah.
And it was sad. Which again, when you talked earlier at the beginning about how do you inspire your people, I like to share my story as much as I can with new hires when they come in. I'm like, don't look around and think that this just showed up. I slept on the floor. I didn't get a life for 2 years because I was doing this at home when I wasn't doing this here, like don't take for granted the amazing thing that you see, even though you're going to see it through different eyes, and also appreciate what this is. And it's always because our customers are here.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. The passion and the grit behind Nick and I and the dream that we had and what we wanted was always there, but we would be nothing without a community.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Bellingham.
Yeah.
You said you're a control freak, or used to be.
I was.
You were a control freak, and you had a hard time delegating.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's probably a lot of what you do.
Yeah.
Tell me about that transition, because that is every single entrepreneur or business owner says, "Oh, I really don't have time to do it." And you're just like, well, it's easy to say it when you're on the other side and you're like, oh, well, all you do is you just draw a line down the middle of the page and say, here's what I'm good at. Here's what I should be fired at. Like it seems so simple, but it's actually a really hard jump for anybody. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your jump.
The first thing I delegated was a bookkeeper. Because
good one.
I love numbers and putting things in boxes. I love budgets. I run our household budget, like all of those things. But oh my gosh, not when I'm trying to be 5 people at the same time. I said, no way. And it was like $45 an hour, which was astronomical for me at that time. But I was like, I need to sleep more because I am emotionally losing it every day. And that's not good for me. And I didn't have time to exercise or play with or like go do things with my girlfriends. I was in a book club, which felt like a huge commitment because first of all, I had to read my book. When am I going to do that? Secondly, I had to go to book club and discuss it. Every single time, 100%, I fell asleep on the couch by 8 p.m. every time. I couldn't stay awake. So I was like, this has got to go because I need to have more free time. As we all know, when you let go of something else quickly takes its spot.
More cake.
Yeah. So while I let go of the bookkeeping, we were getting busier and I needed more time to bake. So then I said, I am ready to bring on somebody who can decorate cake really well because I'm mediocre / a little bit more above mediocre, but I need to spend less of my time getting better at that and hire somebody who knows what they're doing and loves it. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, I brought on Amber, and Amber's a freaking rock star, and Amber still works at Pure Bliss, and that was 11 years ago.
Wow.
She's taken some pauses because she herself has had some natural childbirth babies. You want to talk about grit? We were both pregnant at the same time, and it was midnight, and we were piping mushrooms on these cakes, and we're both like so nauseous, and we're like, we're going to get home soon, Amber. There's only 7 more cakes to go.
Oh my God. The widget factory.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was amazing. And that was way back when we didn't have nearly enough staff for the volume that we were doing, but I didn't want this beautiful thing that I had created to fail because we had ballooned our team too big.
Yeah.
And because we were growing at a steady rate, but there were still big ebbs and flows. And when you think about the dessert world, sure, people might want to grab a cookie every day or grab a coffee or something. But we also have like these swells of times and then the shrinkage of times. So pre-holidays, like right now, December at the shop, it's like Santa elves everywhere. Like it's amazing that the music is going, that the trees are lit, and we're just like having a great time. But then January gets a little sleepy again,
Well, hey, new year, new me. I don't need cake. I need a protein cake. I need like weight loss protein cake. And you're like, we don't have that. Sorry, we have gluten-free.
It doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work.
None of that. It's not healthy.
Go to the gym. You can do it.
You know what you can do right now? Moderate.
Yeah.
Right
don't
now.
Drink as much.
We don't have to do
moderate.
that anywhere.
Yeah.
Just moderate. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Guess what? I eat cake and dessert and stuff all the time, but you also got to move your body. You got to do the things.
Movement's
I also
important.
love salad.
Yeah. Salad's great.
Protein.
I eat salad almost every day.
Right. Good job.
Because you should be able to enjoy whatever you want to eat because you're taking good care of yourself. You're sleeping, you're exercising. But anyways.
Well, and the psychological benefits and even as you're getting older, like when I hit 30, I was like, oh my gosh, like my body hurts a little bit when I wake up. And then when I hit 40.
Tiffany just turned 30.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. When I hit 40, I was like, oh crap, I just pulled my back sleeping. So that sucks.
Extreme sports,
Yeah,
extreme sleeping.
big time.
Yeah.
So yeah, back to the delegating aspect, it was really clear that I needed to be able to begin to let go of the control of my business and trust that other people were just as good or better at this thing than I was, and that they cared. We had our first manager at that point, about 2 years in, and she was a rock star, man. She was one of those 100% performers. I need to be like an 85%. I'm like, listen, I need to get it done because I need to do 150 things today. She was like, I'm going to get it done. I'm going to get it done well and right, even though it's going to take me a little bit slower, but she actually wasn't. But I will say that the reason why I needed to learn to delegate, which I need to tell you part of this story, it's huge. I went to the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, as I'm needing some sort of like, hey, what do you think about this concept and idea? And my business advisor, Eric Grimstead, who still to this day, he was just in my office last week helping me navigate the next thing. I was like, Eric, listen, I'm working 100-hour work weeks. My body is pushed. I don't have any time. My husband was really supportive at that time, all in. Nick was there. He ironically stopped the job that he was working in Bellingham and became a firefighter in Bellevue. So Nick goes and runs that shift work life down there. And when he wasn't doing that, he would be at the shop doing something, not baking, but doing other things.
And not touching his
to
face.
Help keep your hands off your face, out of your hair. No. I would talk to Eric and I would say these things. And he was like, Andi, it is not okay for your personal goals to not line up with your business goals. You have to be able to delegate, because what I had said was, I don't have time for family and I'm not quite ready for kids, but I don't even know how that's going to fit in. And I think I'm gonna have to kiss that goodbye. And he was like, oh no, it's not okay. So then I learned, I remember that, we have these things called flashbulb memories, and we actually have tens of thousands of them. And every once in a while, this like scene or this thought or this conversation pops up in your mind from somewhere in your past. And that pops up on a regular basis because I got two beautiful little people in my life now because Eric said no. And I've appreciated that so much because I believe that a lot of people think if you're an entrepreneur, you just have to go and dive and sacrifice and go, Enneagram 3, we're charging, going. And it's
grind
just like,
hard. Yeah. 4 a.m.
That's exhausting.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm up a little bit up here in the stress department sometimes, and cortisol, and you want to talk about a 6 and a 9-year-old getting ready to go to school, and they go to a private Christian school. So I am the best Uber driver ever. I'm on time. We're going to get it done. But it's just extra, you know? And so being able to understand that philosophy of, you know what, my personal goals do need to line up with my business goals. Otherwise, I'm going to live the life that I don't actually want when I'm on the other side looking back.
Yeah.
So that was huge. So learning
shout out to Eric for that. Wow.
Eric gets so many shout outs.
Yeah.
I mean, the emergency phone calls of like, somebody wants to wholesale pie and I don't make pie, but do I make pie? Should I make pie? I don't like pie, which goes back to the original philosophy of, I'm not going to make something that I don't really love because I think you can taste it. Oh, that's the cheesiest thing I can say.
That was
but
solid,
I really do.
That was a dad joke.
It's true. When you love what you're doing, it tastes better. Not in the cheese ball way of like people can feel your emotions when you're baking it and they're eating it. But I think it just comes with the whole philosophy of, I really care about what I'm doing. I want the techniques to be right. I want the ingredients to be the best that they can. And here in Whatcom County means local because there's amazing options. Like we partner with like 30 different local businesses for various things, but like I'm going to take the extra time to find the right vendor and have those engagements more so throughout the week than the one-stop shop, back truck, unload everything. It's just like all of the from scratch nature, the no shortcuts, like all of that is just going to make the thing so much better. And that's what I want to be a part of what we're doing. And that's what we are. Like, I won't budge from that.
I will be able to taste in your gluten-free Oreo cake or gluten-free cookies and cream cake. Yeah. That was the one that stole my heart.
Okay.
I think.
Great.
I haven't seen it since.
Oh, it's back.
But I need to go every day. If I go every day, then I'll hit it when it comes back on.
Well, I will say you can come. I want you to come every day, but we do set our cake rotation on a weekly basis.
Yes.
So you can come weekly and see if it's there.
That makes sense.
We also just launched a gluten-free vanilla-based cake now,
Oh.
and it is magical. There's a salted caramel version or a raspberry puree and lemon curd version, and it is dreamy.
Well, if you guys aren't salivating that are listening to this, we're all drooling here in the studio, and we're really excited to just see what you continue to do. Kind of last thought. What is you've accomplished all these things, you and your husband and your team, the people in your life, like the Erics that have just, given you great advice. You've accomplished all these things. And there's this point in an entrepreneur's lifetime where you've got your kid, you figured it out. You figured out how to have kids too. Yeah. What does the future look like for you? What is what are some of the things that you're excited about as far as growing the business on quality or quantity? Like what are some of your exciting goals that you have?
That's actually, I feel like, one of the hardest questions that I wrestle with, not daily, but frequently enough. And I think it's because I didn't even talk about the expansion process, but we were in that space and it was the right space for us for about 4 to 5 years. Yeah. Then we started to outgrow it. Then we would knock down a wall and borrow 200 square feet from our neighbor while they were in transition. And then we moved our offices upstairs because we had a little space up there. And it was just kind of like every 6 months, it's almost like I had to recreate a portion of Pure Bliss, either systems wise or responding to what the customer wants. Or I don't have a gluten-free or a dairy-free or a nut-free. I don't have any of those things. So that wasn't on my forefront, nor was it really happening heavy in the 90s when I was like looking at this recipe development thing. So I think what I'm saying is, and then we did the expansion, which was almost death.
Yeah.
Not only for me, but like our marriage was really tense too. I had just had our son Ezekiel. He was 3 weeks old. We started construction. We had a lot of turnover at that time. I went back to work. It was insane. And working in the same space that you are remodeling and then having to pick up your space and go plunk yourself into 50% of the new space while this place is getting remodeled. It was so hard. It was really, it pushed a lot of boundaries and it set a lot of really bad habits in me and how I take care of myself and communication with my husband, even mindset toward the business. Like I have so much passion for it, but it kind of tainted me for a little while. And then we had almost established ourselves. We had established ourselves for 10 months and then COVID hit. And I was like, oh, good, let's recreate it again. Yeah, I can't wait. We just made this amazing space with this huge investment. And now people can't come in and enjoy it. So my goal is to find some sort of stabilizing that actually feels real and authentic and genuine while healthily picking aspects of our business that I would like to improve upon and then focusing on that.
I love that.
And we've been doing that well over the last year and a half since, we were able to kind of say, okay, I think we're good with the COVID stuff and now we can just kind of go. But that's been really great. So lately, for about the last year, we've really been honing in our making really, really amazing coffee.
Yeah.
Getting trained by professionals, knowing the techniques, making sure that there's mastery within all the things that we sell in the dessert world first before we train and dedicate dozens and dozens of hours into the baristas so that they can do that really well. So it's just like, how can we see what we have now and just continue to enrich in it and make it that much better without being like, oh, I'm going to open up a shop in Fairhaven and then we're going to have a food truck and I'm going to start working my way down I-5, because that's not my personality. I do want things to be done well, and Nick does too, and that's really important. And if we spread ourselves too thin, we are going to go back to that terrible place that we were in 2019. I don't want to go back there.
What's it with 2019? That was our worst year too. That was a horrible year.
It was rough. So much beauty because of, again, walking in and being like, this is what we did. This is what was born. Like Nick and I talk about how Bliss is our first baby, but we can leave it. Those other ones, they come everywhere with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really something to be able to just see it and want that to just be great. Honestly, I'm not just making and selling cake. We're a part of a community.
Yeah.
And I want our community to be able to feel and breathe and experience that when they come. And that takes a while to teach and educate and invest our team in it so that they can emulate that, because I'm not standing behind the counter all the time.
Right.
I'm sometimes there, but I'm mostly in the office or doing that thing that I committed to, which was raising 2 children, to know their mom and dad, and to recreate family value. Remember, we're recreation, we're adventuring, we're doing these things. And so like that, I can get really emotional and hard-headed. Like I'm not going to budge in that way, which is why I have a great team, because I can be here right now. Then I get to go home, do a little art project with my kids, make a from scratch yummy meal, and have quality conversation and go to bed on time. That's what I want. Those are my goals, to live the one sweet, precious life that we get in an enriching way, making a positive impact on, hopefully, it's not going to be everybody, but as many people as I can, especially within the walls of Pure Bliss and those 41 humans and the humans that come thereafter and the 160 of them that came before. That's what I want.
You're an incredible human. I think we all are thinking it right now.
That's really
but you're an incredible human. You just have a very uplifting personality. I love the goal of, it's kind of similar to our goal, which is to do a really good job right where we are here and really impact the people in our city. Really, really am glad that we met. I'm glad that you shared your story here with us today. I'm just excited for us to keep eating cake. And by the way, as part of our Live Bellingham Now passports that we give to people that close on a home or give away at our events, most of them, I would say, but 80-90% have Pure Bliss gift cards in there. So
thank you.
Oh yeah,
I love that.
It was completely like, we're just like, you have no choice. This is going to be in here. Yes. And then they're like, I want another one. And you're like, come to another event, so buy another house,
Yeah, that's it. Just buy another house and you too can get a free cake.
It's so cheap right now. Yeah. But thank you for
really good cost of investment.
Yeah, totally. It's worth it. It's worth it. But we appreciate you getting vulnerable, sharing your story. I don't think you would have had a problem getting vulnerable. I think you are very transparent with who you are. So we all appreciate you. Where can people find what is there that week? What are the new specials?
Totally.
Yeah. I'm talking about me. Actually, where can I find this?
Leo, when you are interested to learn about Pure Bliss and what's happening, we've got a great in-house social media person who she does her best to capture what we have and what's going on. Now, the tricky thing is on any given day, we have 50 desserts, and over the cross of the across the whole year, we have over 100. So what we can't do is spend all of our social media time to be like, today is and have all those bullet points. We also have cakes rotating in and out, like that gluten-free vanilla one with the lemon curd and raspberry puree I was talking about. We just kind of slipped that in there in the middle of the week to see what was going to happen. So what I tell people is, if you want to know, put your feet on the pavement and come and see.
You'll get something good no matter what.
You will. Yeah. You will not. You have 50 options. There's got even gluten-free and vegan, and we have even a couple things with no refined sugar. Get in there and try it, and it'll be there. Otherwise, for the general menu across the year, we have a great website that's hopefully easy to navigate and be able to demonstrate our rotating flavors for that month, the following month, as well as our standard menu that's available throughout the whole year.
Go get you some cake. That's what I say. I say go get some cake.
Yeah.
And also, in light of my t-shirt that didn't show up today, let's all get cake faced. I mean, you got to go in, just get a couple slices of cake. Thank you for joining me. We're halfway through the season. Can't believe it. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you for having us, or me and us, as in my husband and my family and the whole team that's standing behind me right now. So appreciate it. Yes. Thanks for what you're doing. I get to learn about other businesses that we either partner with at the shop or just love to go to and support because they make great things. And now I get to know a little bit more about them because of the work you're doing. So good job to all of you.
Well, thank you.
Building Bellingham is a community podcast exploring leadership, challenges, failure, and mindset with entrepreneurs right here in Whatcom County, Washington. You can be the first to hear about upcoming guests by subscribing to the Building Bellingham Facebook or Instagram pages, as well as the Building Bellingham YouTube channel. This episode was produced and edited by Tiffany Holden. Our videography is done by Cooper Hansley. Community projects are by Taylor Beal. To learn more about the team behind the podcast and to download our media kit, check out our website at www.livebellinghamnow.com or search Cohen Group NW on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn. From the whole Building Bellingham podcast team, thank you for listening.